Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our awesome seminar about online sales and the power that it can have to help your business. We're really excited to have an amazing panel today to share their stories, their advice, their experiences with us. So kicking it off, we have Holly Ross from Seaside Gallery and Gifts. We have Bill Gallant from Mail It Unlimited. Lauren Guptill from Rococo Artisanal Ice Cream, and Wendy Ross from Cottage Breeze Day Spa. And they're just going to be sharing all their tips and tricks as online selling has become definitely a priority for a lot of businesses, especially within the COVID-19 days. We want to ensure that everyone has access to online advice and online sales just because people are no longer traveling. And we want people to enjoy the Kennebunk's even if they can't get here in person. So I'm going to kick it off with Bill. And Bill, I'm going to have you share just what you've been doing, how long you've had online sales. Just give us kind of your overview of how online sales have impacted your business.
Sure. I've actually had 3 different online platforms over the years. One was designed specifically for me. That lasted a few years with very little results. I then went to a platform called Weebly. Again, very little results. This past year, I went on with a new site on Shopify. I used some local consultants who I would be happy to share with you. They were fantastic. They still an amazing pair, 2 ladies that own a company called Fisher Green Creative, and they're great. It's a technical team that's kind of on call, so you don't pay anything unless you need their services. And quite frankly, given what I've seen in the past, I think their service rates are extremely reasonable. Now, that's not to say that my store has an enormous success online. It does not. But I think online presence is extremely important because I think it gets viewed much more and results in on-site visits, for me at least. And then we work that through our Facebook page as well for referrals. And again, it's not a huge financial success for me, but I think the referrals and the presence is somewhat immeasurable, the impact it has on your business. And I think without it, you're making a mistake because it is going to be a factor for forever. I mean, it is our world today. Exclusive of the pandemic, it's still a very important piece. I don't know if you want me to talk about shipping now or save that for a little later.
Why not? Might as well. You've got the mic. Might as well have you. Might as well have you chat a little about that, considering shipping is such a huge component of online sales.
Okay. As most of you probably know, Mail It Unlimited started as a shipping service. It is still well over half of our business. The Shopify platform that I use is very conducive to online shipping. It'll produce your labels. It'll give you options for pricing when you set it up. So I would definitely say it's a good avenue. Shipping is also something that, none of us are going to survive long-term with, quote, curbside. It's a nice feature. Again, given the pandemic conditions, it's a nice feature to offer. Our website does offer that. But again, you're only reaching the local clientele. And if the objective is to reach nationwide, then I think you need to have a shipping platform. We have a lot of customers that use our online service. And I think the reason for doing that is that your tech support is literally in Kennebunk. You're not calling an 800 number for a problem. You're dealing with someone that you know, and our response time is pretty good. But again, most legitimate platforms have a shipping module. And if you're selling, like Holly, if she's selling through Etsy, I'm sure she ships out using Etsy service. So that's very good. The key, I think, for me, and I would encourage it for anyone, I always tell my customers, don't offer international shipping. What marginal sales you might gain are going to be more than offset by the hassles when it doesn't go right. International shipping is fraught with issues in good times and bad. And you always run the risk of, let's say Holly sells a piece of artwork that's worth $200-300. She ships it to Canada, pays to ship it to Canada. The person in Canada all of a sudden decides, I don't want to pay those duties and taxes. Holly's package is literally stranded in Canada. She has to make a decision whether she's going to abandon it or pay to return it. So she's going to have that issue. And trust me, I've seen it more times than I would like to, where everyone says, oh no, it's fine, we'll pay the duties. And it gets there and they say, wow, I didn't know it was that. So I always encourage everyone that works with me, work with the 48 states. And you can do Alaska and Hawaii if you're using postal service. They're fairly effective cost-wise, but UPS is not. So that's my spiel.
Thank you so much. That's a very valuable information. I didn't even think about international shipping. So that's very, very handy. And just a heads up, I just muted all the panelists. So when you're ready to speak, just unmute yourself, or I can unmute you, just to make sure we didn't have any background noise. So, okay, Bill, thank you so much. And I've got some questions for later on, but I think we're gonna pop it over to Wendy from Cottage Breeze, just to have her share. And Wendy, I'm just gonna unmute you right now. Let me see. Oh, it's not letting me. So you might wanna just unmute yourself. And Wendy's gonna share her story because you use Amazon, which is a significant platform. And as we know, Amazon in regards to small businesses has definitely had an impact on many of our retailers. So I would love to, I'm sure everyone would love to hear your story.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I do have a few notes just because there's a lot of information to go through. So I'll just get started. My story is I own Cottage Breeze Day Spa, but we also have a huge assortment of mostly bath and body type products. We have lotions and soaps and candles and things like that. And I guess about 6 or 7 years ago, I decided to just investigate selling on Amazon. And I've been selling successfully ever since then on Amazon. In terms of the type of account I have, there are a couple of different types of Amazon accounts. The first one is called Fulfillment by Amazon. It goes under the initials FBA. I am not that kind of a seller. I am a seller fulfilled Amazon account. So basically what that means is that I've set up a platform on Amazon where I have my own store on Amazon, and I pay a fee to Amazon every month of $39.95, and they just bill that right exactly through my account. And then in terms of the cost that it costs me in addition to the $39.95 is Amazon has a fee that they take off of the product sales. So example, if you have an item that's $10, typically Amazon will keep about 15% of it. So the amount that would go into my bank account would be $8.50. Another decision you'd have to make if you decide to sell on Amazon, in addition to whether you want to be the FBA or the seller fulfilled, is if you're going to charge for shipping and how much you're going to charge for shipping. So a couple different things to think about. Originally, when I got started, I did charge for shipping. It was a nominal fee. I want to say per item, it averaged out to be maybe $4 per item. That would pretty much cover my cost if it was a smaller, lighter item. However, if you get into a heavier item like candles and things like that, that might be £1 to £2, you have to kind of justify if the cost of shipping the item is something you want to eat versus having the buyer pay for it. One advantage of not charging for shipping is you'll end up getting quite a few more orders, because I, as an independent seller on Amazon, is competing against other sellers on Amazon. And that's a topic of a little bit of research you should do before you decide to sell on Amazon. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But just to backtrack a little bit, there is the option of FBA, or fulfillment by Amazon. I have investigated a few times to see if it would be worth my while to do that platform. Basically what you do is you would take your items and you would actually ship them directly to Amazon, and then Amazon would distribute your items through their Prime network. So you would have the Prime tag on your items, which is a great benefit. And the downfall I thought of when I did do the research of it was that you really have to be a larger seller to do that. I mean, I might have on some days 5 to 10 items that sell. If you are doing fulfillment by Amazon, you would have to tell them that you want to sell 50 of, let's say, a body lotion. And then once you put those 50 items onto the Amazon fulfillment, Amazon comes back to you and says, okay, you're going to sell 50 of XYZ lotion. You're going to need to send 10 to Los Angeles, 10 to Detroit, 15 to Chicago, and the remainder to Dallas. So, and as the seller, you're responsible for shipping those items. Amazon doesn't send you a little tag to, you know, ship those items off. So that was another expense. The other thing too is Amazon takes a higher percentage when you're fulfillment by Amazon, because they're actually doing the shipping work, the manpower, the supplies for the individual items that go out, whereas I cover those costs. So I buy the boxes, the packing peanuts, and it's my time in order to ship the items. My volume is such that I don't do a huge amount. So it's something that I can typically take care of in a morning. When I come into work, I just print off the orders that have sold overnight. I pull all the items, and then I go ahead and box them up and have them ready by the time the postman comes and picks up. You do have the option to use either UPS or United States Postal Service. Because most of my items are smaller and lighter and under 16 ounces, it just makes more sense for me to use USPS. And the benefit with Amazon is you do have a shipping account right through Amazon. So I pretty much just go in, pull my 10 items, pack them up. I know how much they weigh. I put that information into my Amazon account, and I print out the 10 labels and just slap them on the boxes, and that's that. So it can maybe take up anywhere from, I'd say on average, maybe a half an hour a morning to handle 10 to 20 items. So it's not a huge time constraint, but I've gone ahead and set up myself that it's a pretty seamless operation. In terms of actually setting up your account initially, it's a pretty simple process. You just sign up for an Amazon seller account. And like I said, it's $39.95 per month. And then you could basically simply, might take you 30 seconds to add an item. You're not creating your own item in the system. There's already other sellers that are selling those items. So you're just kind of tagging on to an existing listing that's on Amazon. So when you say, I would like to sell this bar of soap, Amazon will say, okay, that's available to sell. All you need to do is put in the quantity that you have and your selling price. That's it. So again, it's to actually add an item, it's very quick. The thing that I would highly recommend for anybody thinking about opening up an Amazon account is you have to think about the types of items that you want to sell, because there's a couple of different things to think about. One of them is being the shipping cost. So if I have an item that, let's say, cost me $5 and I retail it for 10, let's say it's a bar of soap. When I look at my costs, I do the free shipping piece of it because I'm selling more, and I just decided to make that commitment to do free shipping. But if I have a $10 bar of soap, first of all, it's cost me $5 plus whatever it's cost me to ship it to my store. Number two, Amazon's going to take $1.50 off the top, which is the 15% fee that they charge. And then the third charge is going to be the shipping charge. Anything that goes in a box, really the minimum shipping charge, if it's, Bill would probably know better than this, but it usually costs me anywhere from, I'd say on average about $4 to ship a bar of soap in a box. So when I add up my cost of $5 for that item, it's going to cost me $4 to sell that item. $1.50 goes to Amazon, and I don't really put the monthly fee in because my volume is high enough that that's just kind of a wash. That $10 bar of soap really isn't going to be worth my time and my effort unless I'm trying to get rid of an item. And it's maybe an item that's sat on the shelf for a while. It's just taking up space. I've probably made the decision not to carry that particular item again. That way I might go ahead and just say, let me throw that bar of soap on there just to get rid of it. And then I'm not carrying the cost of that. In terms of, to second what Bill said, I did used to sell overseas. I had set up where I could sell to Canada, to different places in Europe, and it really wasn't worth it. There were so many problems involved with the customs and regulations, or the main thing that really hurt me was the timing that it would take an item to get to those places. Amazon gives the customers a guarantee that even if it's overseas, your item's going to show up in, let's say, 14 to 21 days. Well, if that particular item, for whatever reason, gets stuck in customs in Brussels, the customer's not going to blame the customs office. They're going to blame the sellers. So some of the sellers would start giving me bad ratings. It was something I had no control over because it was a customs issue. So I just kind of decided, for the little volume that I sold to overseas, it just really wasn't worth it. Just so I can wrap up, I'll touch on a couple of other things quickly. In terms of marketing and promotion, I basically don't do any marketing or promotion. Actually, Amazon discourages any seller from marketing their individual business on Amazon. And they can actually shut down your account. So if I, let's say, sell that bar of soap and I put in to the box, there's a coupon in there that the next time you order, if you order directly through my store, I'll give you, $2 off. If Amazon catches you doing that, forget it. They don't want to lose their platform to individual sellers. So people aren't looking for me or Cottage Breeze Day Spa. They're looking for that bar of soap or that lotion. So when you go onto your Amazon account, let's say you put in rose scented lotion by ABC company, you type in the company or the product name, and I'm competing against other sellers, or I might be the only person that's actually selling that item. Hence, if somebody really wants that lotion, they would end up ordering it from me. One thing to think about if you are thinking about going into opening up an Amazon account is, I would say, come up with a list of what items you'd like to start with. And then you have to definitely do some research, because if, let's say I have a company called Archipelago Botanicals. I used to be able to sell online on Amazon. It was great. But then some of these companies are getting wise to the fact that they can end up selling directly on Amazon. So they're cutting out the sellers like me. So my volume has gone down significantly because the individual brands that of products that I'm selling, like I said, they're coming in and kind of circumventing me just to sell directly on Amazon. So that's one issue I've had to deal with. The other issue is some of the companies, like all of my skincare companies, Dermalogica and everything like that, they have decided that there's too much chance of what they call diversion, which is older products getting into people's hands, things that have been damaged. For example, there could be a spa that goes out of business and they sell all of their products to a wholesale company. Well, that wholesale company, those products could be sitting on the shelf for 3 years. Dermalogica doesn't want those products being sold on Amazon, so they'll restrict their products. So there are some companies that you're just not allowed to sell on Amazon. So definitely do your research. The other thing is you have to look at which companies are, which other products are on there. So if I'm looking to sell a lavender lotion on Amazon and it is allowed, and let's say my retail price for that lotion is $30, I would need to do the research before I even decide to sell that item on Amazon, because there are sellers out there that are selling things at rock bottom prices on Amazon. Now, granted, the seller doesn't know if it's 3 years old or a fresh product, but if somebody's selling that $30 lotion on Amazon for, let's say, $17.95, and I go and put it on there for $30, I'm not going to get any sales from it. So I would say before you even think about opening up an Amazon account, look at the items that you want to sell and see who else is selling it on there. Typically, you do have to have a UPC code, which is the universal code to add an item to Amazon. There is a whole separate division that's kind of like custom or homemade products that I don't know a lot about, but those items you don't need to have a UPC code, but Amazon pretty much requires a seller like me to have items that do have a barcode on them. Lastly, I'm just gonna say it's very important that you keep a good rating with Amazon for your sales, because if for some reason you have a lot of cancellations, so you don't want to list items that you don't have in inventory, because I have to get everything out within 1 to 2 days. And if I don't, I get dinged for having late shipments, or if I have to cancel items, you end up getting penalized for that. And if your rating goes too low, Amazon can shut your account down either temporarily or permanently. So you really want to make sure that the items you have listed, you have the inventory in your store so you can get them out within a couple of days. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if there'll be a question and answer period, but I'm happy to answer any questions at the end, or
I think this could be, I think Amazon could be an entire panel in itself,
Yeah.
with all the intricacies and everything like that. I mean, obviously you, as an Amazon Prime holder, you know, you just go on, you don't even think about it. You're just like, okay, you know, I obviously try and shop local whenever I can. We use Amazon Prime for things that we know we can't get in town. But that's just, there are so many intricacies. So all your information was extremely valuable. And I love the theme of international is just very difficult.
Yeah.
But we're going to hop from one self-care situation to another, which is ice cream, because I fully consider ice cream being part of the self-care genre, especially this week has been a little crazy. So Lauren from Rococo has the very difficult task of shipping ice cream. So I don't think it gets more difficult from a logistical standpoint than shipping something that can melt. So Lauren, we would love to know more about your Pint Club and all the wonderful things that you do online.
Okay, sure, I'll start there. Yeah, so giving your introduction, I wholeheartedly agree. I would say that I've like self-taught myself the ins and outs of shipping maybe the world's most perishable product, which has been quite challenging and has come with a lot of phone calls to customers talking them down from, you know, the worst experience ever, which is receiving a box of melted ice cream. So yes, let's get into it. I started shipping ice cream probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And it sort of happened because a customer that came into the shop loved the product so much and just sort of demanded that it be shipped to them. I think they were in New Jersey. And so it took a lot to figure it out, but I, in the beginning, was shipping just like directly through UPS, paying pretty close to regular retail rates on shipping. My boxes weigh probably about 17 to 20 pounds, packed. We ship a dry ice. Dry ice is also one of the world's most perishable products. It literally starts dissolving the second you expose it to air, and it's always exposed to air. So super complicated, but it works. So anyways, we started shipping. I probably shipped through UPS directly, paying, pretty terrible rates, which, then were transferred to the customer, who were paying their own shipping rates. So for the first few years of shipping, I mean, we did very, very little, because no one was really going to pay more than the value of the ice cream to have it shipped to them, and it was basically that much. In 2016, I want to say, I joined Shopify. Their beta version. I got pretty lucky because my best friend who lives in Canada was head of development at Shopify. So she said, hey, I'm working for this startup in Canada. You might be interested in it. And I signed on immediately and was very fortunate to have pretty good insider guide to the company itself, and started shipping exclusively, or rather using Shopify as my exclusive e-commerce platform, which is integrated right into my website. You really wouldn't know the difference. You would just think I was shipping directly through my own website if you looked at it. I'll pause there for a second. There are two different kind of competitive e-commerce platforms that I think are sort of the top tier, and one is Shopify and the other one is Squarespace. I haven't shipped with Squarespace. I chose to go with Shopify because I had that personal connection to the business, and also because they had negotiated, in the beginning, they had a way for me to use my UPS negotiated rates directly through their platform, which made a big difference. I also at the same time was able to work out some decently negotiated shipping rates through UPS by talking to a sales rep who worked in the perishable industries. He was able to get me the same rates that were specifically for people from the Northeast who shipped seafood or lobsters, and also Christmas trees and Christmas trees. So things that were like seasonal and highly perishable. And I think that back then, this is probably maybe 2017 or 18, these rates were about 40% off of listed retail rate. If you're gonna build an e-commerce business, you will not get anywhere if you were paying regular retail rates. Your shipping costs are just going to be way too high. That's a lot to turn on to the customer, mostly because, and I would say that we've been programmed as consumers to believe that everything arrives at our doorstep in 1 to 2 days. I think precisely because of programs like Amazon Prime. And I think that we've also sort of forgotten that shipping actually costs money. I think a lot of consumers just think, oh, it's free. Well, someone's paying for that. So if you're not paying for it, then that means that the shipper is paying for it. But shipping is never actually free. But I think we've just become the sort of consumer culture, consumer mentality has gotten to a point where like things arrive immediately. If I order it today, I'll get it tomorrow or the day after, and it's not going to cost me anything. So knowing that those are two really big hurdles to deal with and sort of overcome, shipping ice cream has, you have to work within that realm of expectations of people. So anyways, I, at some point for a while, was shipping through Shopify, using that as a platform, and Bill spoke about it really well, and so I'm not going to explain it too much more and repeat what he said. But the integration is amazing, the customer service is great, the technical support is great, and the flexibility that you have is really good. And then this past, and that was all well and good. And then this past spring, actually at the beginning of the pandemic, where we really shifted to quite a heavy e-commerce model back in like March. Not, knowing that we weren't sure if the shop was even going to get open, and just trying to, first of all, capture the movement at the time and capture sort of the culture of the time. And I think everyone was trying to do two things. One was support small businesses and support small companies that they really cared about. And two, order things directly to them. So we caught that wave. We've been riding it since March. But one thing I realized in March, and I'm going to talk about this quickly with Shopify, is over the years of shipping, using my directly negotiated UPS rates through Shopify, this past spring, I realized that Shopify had, over those years, actually, as a business, as a sort of umbrella of all these small companies, rather, had negotiated way better rates as a bulk shipper, essentially, through UPS, that were now far better and beyond the perishable rate that I had received from my UPS rep a few years earlier. And that's complicated. I mean, negotiating rates with UPS as a small shipper is, it doesn't really, it's hard to get anywhere. That being said, I ship directly with UPS, partly because USPS doesn't want dry ice through their system. And the other reason being that UPS has negotiated, or rather Shopify has negotiated direct shipping rates with UPS that are about 68 to maybe 72% off retail rates. So that's, that's like significantly cheaper than walking into like a UPS center or customer service center and giving them your package and having them charge you there. So this was, I would say that is, I mean, shipping anything, you need to make sure that you're always getting, the best shipping rates. And then also, just controlling costs on supplies. I mean, for us, we control cost on our shippers, like our styrofoam boxes that we ship with. We're constantly researching costs on those, researching costs on dry ice, researching costs on our boxes, or actually our shipping boxes. And so there's a lot of moving pieces, tons of them actually. I mean, just yesterday I got an alert from the company that supplies our shippers saying that their cost is going up 6% December 1st. I mean, this is pretty typical. Kind of goes back to a little bit of what Wendy was saying with, the structure of, is it worth it to ship a $10 bar? So I would say that, well, two things. I'd say it's absolutely necessary to have an online presence. It's just another facet of how people shop. And I think that, we've seen this wave growing for multiple years. We've seen, we've seen the big box stores create their online presence. We've seen, major labels start to have an online presence, but now we're really at the point where like small businesses can effectively and efficiently play the same game as these major retailers. And so I just think that, one, you just have to have it. You just have to have an e-commerce platform as part of your business. as, one of your revenue streams, which of course we all learned this spring, how important that was. And then I think the other thing too is, and this is sort of speaking to more people in the community, given the uniqueness of being in Kennebunkport and being part of people's vacations, being part of people's sort of, pleasure time, like, the time that they spend, that they're not working, that they're enjoying themselves. I think that's all the more reason to have, to being in this community, to have an online presence. I mean, it really harks back to that first customer that just said, no, I loved your ice cream so much on vacation, I want it shipped to me in New Jersey. And there's a million people like that out there. And they're really going to use their summertime experiences to sort of create warm and lasting memories back home. So that, I just think that it's like, market the fact that you are in Kennebunkport. I know this from shipping ice cream for the last 5-6 years or so. 90% of the customers that find us are directly customers that have been into my shop, that have had the ice cream, that have been told about it, that order it for special occasions, for birthdays, just to have at home. And then the last thing I would say, which is just sort of gets into like the marketing side of it, is plan a strategy. It's an awful lot of work, and it takes consistency. It takes having, it's like a social media, like Facebook, social whatever, Instagram strategy, like on steroids. Like you've got to keep up with it. It doesn't just, maybe a handful of sales will trickle in here and there. I think that I'm unique in the sense that, like, shipping ice cream for us only really makes sense if we're doing a huge volume. It's in doing larger volumes that we're able to control our costs and actually like see a decent margin in shipping out a box of ice cream. But that comes with having like a very structured strategy. Mailing list, having a solid mailing list is really huge. You need to be able to, if you're not, unlike Amazon, we're shipping direct to our customers, and you've got to be able to have a way to communicate with them. So just, things to think about that are sort of outside of the realm of like a regular brick and mortar retail location. You need to continue to grow that voice. And also I think one thing that's certainly in the food industry, especially ice cream, that's challenging is like a lot of people just don't even fathom the idea that they can get, perishable food items shipped to them. And so a lot of it is education too, and just like, explaining the process, and then also, being right on top of things so that when the process breaks down, as it often does, that you've got a strategy in place to make sure that, if UPS doesn't deliver a box on time, which happens more often than not, that how to intercept that box, how to, placate the customer from getting upset, and then, have the inventory in stock to reship it immediately. But those are sort of more perishable related issues that, someone that's not shipping perishable wouldn't deal with. But I feel like that's kind of a decent overview of, I can go into more detail and if anyone has any questions.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'm going to have some questions once we have everyone present, which is great because there were definitely some follow-ups I had on that. Thank you so much, because I can't even imagine dealing with the logistics of ice cream. I'm dealing with auction items back here, and those are like normal items. So the timelines of melting ice cream is overwhelming, to say the least. We are going to pop it over to Holly and have her share some of her logistics and having an Etsy page and online selling for your beautiful art. We have a great diverse group here with all different items to sell. So Holly, I'm going to throw it over to you. Just remember you're currently on mute, so you might want to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay. Hi, thanks for having me. First of all, I have to say, shipping ice cream, oh my, crazy. I thought shipping artwork was a thing, but I cannot imagine shipping ice cream, so I just learned a whole lot. Yeah, so for me, my business is Fish House Designs. It's a line of my greeting cards, original artwork, paintings, prints, and along with that, the gallery, Seaside Gallery and Gifts, I co-own with another local artist, Lisa from Lisa Art Gallery and Framing in Wells. So together we ship a lot. And but what I was really wanting to focus on is my business during the pandemic, for the most part, when we had the whole shutdown and we had to shut down our gallery, and we all went through a lot. But you know, the first thing I thought of was nobody's going to buy artwork during a pandemic. And so I immediately just started painting and making more artwork. It was just sort of a lifeline and for me. And for those of you who don't know, I typically do very happy, uplifting art anyhow, but it proved to be a good thing for me. And primarily I am talking about Instagram and my Etsy. And for those who may not know what Etsy is, it's an online platform where you can actually have your own shop and showcase your handmade items. It's primarily for handmade and crafts and art. So I was saying prior to when we got on online that my Etsy, it's hard to find your way through Etsy. I mean, it's a huge platform, so it's hard to get noticed. However, it's a fabulous platform for me because it's kind of like a holding place for my artwork. And if people come into the gallery and don't find what they want, or they call me up and they're like, when are you going to do your Christmas cards? When, you know, have random questions, I can send them to my Etsy page. So that is very helpful for a small business, and for an artist like myself that does such specific work. For Instagram, Instagram is fabulous for artists. It's talk about a lifeline. I feel so connected to this Instagram world. I wake up in the morning, I check my Instagram, I see what other artists are doing. It's like, I feel like I'm back in art school. I absolutely love it. And as far as me and selling my work, back to the whole pandemic thing, I started doing a daily painting on Instagram when we had to shut down the gallery and go home and hunker down. So every day from like March 19th, and I continued it to about August 1st, I did a daily painting. And so I would do the painting and then I would post it every day. And in the beginning, I tried to post at around between 4 and 6 o'clock. And I will say, I don't know a ton about how Instagram works. I'm trying to learn more, but consistency is key. And and posting, when I started posting at a very regular basis, I did see a difference. And then I was getting DMs from people telling me they can't wait for the next day to see what I was going to do next. And it turned out to be a really fabulous thing for me during the pandemic. And I felt connected to people, and I felt like I was keeping my business alive. And so it turned into a thing, and my paintings were selling every day. And then, since I don't really know how to say no, people would send me DMs and they would want a painting that had already sold. So I would do different versions of it. I would, if it was a yellow dog, they wanted a black dog, and I would do this. And I did this for however long that was, between March and August, for like 6 months, just painting my heart out. And then I had to ship all these things as well. And so the shipping became just part of my daily routine. And for me, my pieces are small. And so I sort of started out, when I did this whole daily painting thing, not knowing what would happen, but I did a small, I don't think I have an example, but they were just like 5 by 5 blocks. And so I was able, like Wendy was kind of saying, I sort of got into a rhythm of how to ship everything, and I had all the supplies, and boom, I just would do that. But what I wanted to focus on was that the fact that for me, Instagram has been a really important place for me to connect and to sell my work. And even with local people that come into the gallery, I can see, later on that day or at the end of the week, when I see that I have new followers, a lot of them, I imagine, are people that had been in the gallery, and then they start following me. And for me in my work, I deal very one-on-one with my clientele. I mean, it's very personal, and it's just what works for me. So I have to really listen to what people want. And I get a lot of DMs in my, from Facebook, Instagram, to emails of people being like, hey, I was in the gallery and I saw, on your wall of like 40 prints, I wanted the one with the yellow dog. And I'm like, well, I have like 5 yellow dogs. And so I spend a lot of time working one-on-one with my clientele and figuring out exactly what they want. And that has been a key to my business, to keeping things moving forward, is really working with them, people individually. It's just what kind of drives my business, and I try and cater to my clientele and what they want. And I do a lot of commissions, which has also kept me thriving during the pandemic. And so I never really say no to that, because I figure that is another way for me to get revenue coming in, and keeping people happy with what they want. Just to jump to Etsy. So between Instagram and Etsy, that's where I focus my online presence. And so now, this time of year, I'm getting ready to get my calendar out, which I have people who are waiting for it, my holiday cards, and just basic gift items. So I will start loading up my Etsy shop. And like I was saying earlier, I might not be getting random people from the universe trying to, that happen upon me and find my work. But when I do get people asking me about, do you have this, do you have that, I can send them to Etsy, and it's just a really comforting place for me to be able to send people to, so I know that they will find what they want and make sales from there. So for me, between Instagram and Etsy are my key sort of online connections to my customer base.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And that's such a great piece of advice in regards to Instagram. Instagram is a huge social media channel. And while it's not a direct online transaction channel, it has immediate effect on your business and you're doing it the right way. So that's fantastic when you talk about social media and the importance of that. So I think I just want to follow up with a couple of questions and get some quick answers because we're running out of time here. Thank you so much, first and foremost, for sharing your backgrounds and your opinions on everything, because they're all different. And I think this will help so many of the Kennebunkport Business Association members in regards to if they want to expand into the online sales world. I think the first question is it worth it? So from your perspective, is venturing into this and having that consistency and doing the packing every morning and figuring out the shipping rates and all that stuff, has it been worth it for your business? Let's kick it off with Bill.
Well, as I said earlier, I don't pretend to say that I'm making a great deal of money with e-commerce. I think for me, it's more of an issue of referral. Obviously, packing and shipping is, that's our second nature. So that's never an issue because we're doing that literally 10 hours a day. And there certainly are frustrations with shipping. We've had them. We recently picked up a commercial account locally that ships another perishable like Lauren. It's not quite as perishable as hers, but it's perishable. And one of the things that's happened this year is that as soon as the pandemic hit, both UPS and FedEx removed all on-time guarantees. So in a normal time, if I had a customer who shipped an overnight package and it didn't get there on time, I can get their money back. In this world, no one gets a refund for late shipping because the performance is down just enough so that these two carriers, whether they admit to collusion or not, they all do the same thing. They're not going to suffer a profit loss. We are. So that's been the biggest issue for us.
Very, very interesting. Wendy?
It's definitely worth it for me. Like I mentioned in my little speech, I don't really spend too much time on it. Granted, I had spent the time getting everything set up to streamline when orders do come in. It's worth it for me. I have one particular line that does super well. It's a line of body products from France, and I'm one of the few people that sell it. So that line has been really good for me. So I think it's a matter of finding out what items or what products maybe aren't being aggressively sold on Amazon, and then focus on that particular item. The other thing too is it allows me to carry a lot more inventory in my store because I wouldn't have nearly as many lines available for my retail bricks and mortar customers unless I had the Amazon store, because I wouldn't have a channel up to get rid of them, especially in the off season. And then lastly, like I had mentioned, there's some items that you just never know if they're going to sell or not sell, and you've invested money in it. For me, I might just be breaking even or making a little bit of a profit, but it allows me to sell through items that normally might just be sitting on my shelf, or some of the things are consumable products with expiration dates. And if I didn't have a way to sell them, that end up going bad, and then I'd lose, my cost on them. So I think it's definitely worth it to have an online store.
Awesome. Lauren?
Well, I feel like my approach is a little bit more pessimistic. I would say it is only worth it if you have the time and the resources to devote to it. In the realm in which we're doing this, it is literally like a second business. It is maybe harder than a retail shop. I think way more complicated than retail. But if you're dedicated to it, if you have the right channels worked out, if you do all the legwork ahead of time, I think like it's worthwhile if you've done your research, if you know you can, get the perishable items and the shipping items that you need, whether it's shipping coolers or dry ice or blocks or ice packs, whatever it is. I would do all that research first. I would run a cost analysis, figure out what your margin would be, figure out, how cheap you're willing to sell your product for. You're never going to see the margin that you see in your regular retail shop. From ice cream perspective, my best price per ounce is scooped out of my shop. That being said, figure out the numbers. Your overhead is less, of course. If you're able to ship out of your same facility that you produce in, that helps. But I'd say do all the research first. It might, as much as I think everyone should have an e-commerce platform and have that ability to reach their customers, especially given the fact that, we're in a seasonal town and that provides for some year-round income, or, an extra boost. I didn't mention this before, but we have a Pint Club. It's a subscription box service. It ships out 4 times a year. Is literally structured to ship out the 4 months of the year that we need the extra boost, in December, March, October, and June, right? These are all months of the year that like having the extra boost comes in handy. So, if you're gonna, I'd say it's something that you don't want to dip your toes in. You're either all in, dive in head first, figure it all out first, make sure the numbers make sense for you. It's incredible how quickly that small margin can just disappear especially speaking to what Bill said. It was a total disaster for us dealing with UPS during this pandemic, knowing that every box that we shipped out had no guarantees on it, and there was no way to claim. I don't want to get into that because I will get too fired up. But because I'm pretty sure they probably still made a profit on, off of the backs of small business owners that had, no other option but to just ship out boxes of, highly sensitive or perishable items on like a hope and a prayer. But anyways, I'll stop rambling. Do all your research first, figure it out, and then decide from there if you think it's worth it for you or not for your business.
Perfect. And Holly, has it been worth it for you?
Yeah, it has. And I couldn't do what I do without having an online presence and selling online. And just to reiterate the fact that we're running businesses in a coastal community, even pre-pandemic, there's just months where I don't think anybody can just rely on their retail space to carry them through. You've got to think of different ways to reach your people and be present with your with your clientele. So reaching people out through constantly posting on my Instagram page and showing them new work, and supplying all that to my Etsy page is just one of the little factors or tiers from my business, like selling stuff in the gallery. So absolutely, and I would just add one more thing, and this is just for me, back to saying how personal and individual, how I do things with my clientele. When I sell something on Etsy, or if somebody orders something for me, I pack things up and I hand draw my wrapping paper. I make handmade tags. I get different colors of raffia and wrap it up so it matches the color of the painting. I mean, I try and do things. You're getting a special piece, and in the long run, does it take a lot of time to do that? Yes, but in the long run, this is what, I'm just speaking for my clientele, this is what will keep them coming back and hopefully noticing me above other options.
Well, I mean, I had a whole list of questions here, but all of you have managed to answer them throughout this entire hour-long session. And I'm so appreciative of you taking the time to share and being very candid about this is not something to take lightly when you go into online sales. But it's obviously benefited everyone, but I think, as Lauren stated, do your research, know what you're stepping into. Wendy, you mentioned the cost parameters and everything. Holly, I loved your point about social media and its effectiveness. Bill, you are the man of many talents, from your shipping to online sales in your gift shop. Thank you so much for taking time. Really appreciate it. This is going to be available on YouTube, and we would also like to thank Kennebunk Savings for sponsoring the series. We're very much looking forward to an exciting 39th Prelude this year. But from me to you, I hope that you continue to see the success online that you have over the past few years. And let's hope that things can go more back to normal as of next year, but you still maintain that online presence in such a strong way. Thanks again, and I think that is it. Thank you.